So as you already know after seeing the Lucha Media Geeks review yesterday, this week we're talking about Munich, the Steven Spielberg movie. Now I have to agree with Sam when he says that this is definitely kind of overlooked in Steven Spielberg's catalogue. And it's a film that I've owned for a while, but I've only watched it twice, I think, before doing this review. And it's a film that is overlooked, but when it came out, I remember seeing trailers for it, and it was quite... the reviews that I read and listened to were very positive towards this movie, so I gave it a go, and I did find it to be one of Spielberg's most challenging films. And I know that Sam's already talked about this, but he's absolutely bang on the money when he says that it is one of Spielberg's darkest movies. It is one of his most challenging, and it's just generally a very uneasy watch. I'm not really going to get into the plot because Sam's already given a pretty in-depth rundown of that, but it focuses on the whole Palestinian versus Israeli conflict, which I think this is one of the only times that it's actually been done in a Hollywood movie, which I really appreciate. The fact that Spielberg has gone ahead and done that. Never one to take the easy option, really. Now, rather than talk about, my views on the whole political context of this movie, because let's face it, everybody's opinions are going to be different, I wanted to talk about just my kind of gut visceral reaction I had to it. And I have to say that Munich is absolutely terrifying at times. It really is. The scene of the actual terrorist attack and the hostage taking is one of the tensest, just most unrelenting scenes in terms of building tension and that feeling of panic. Spielberg is a master. He always has been. We know this from films like Schindler's List and Saving Private Ryan and even Minority Report. All his films are done so well. He is a master of the medium, and the way that he builds that sense of just sheer terror in this movie when the Olympic dorm rooms are invaded, it really is just gut-wrenchingly horrible. I found it really hard to watch at times. I'm not going to lie, especially that hostage-taking scene at the beginning. He kind of bookends the films with the actual... the actual event, and in between, as you know, it's a revenge mission about an Israeli group who go to kill any Palestinian people that were involved in the hostage situation. So it is essentially a revenge film, but with a hefty political context. And it reminds me of that film noir. Now, Sam already said that it's set in the 70s, but it's also made like a 70s thriller, which I absolutely concur with. I felt, you forget that it's a fairly recent movie. It only came out a few years ago, but it does feel like a 70s thriller. And I think it's done really well, the context in which it's all filmed. The performances across the board are really good, but Sam's already touched on that. But what I really wanted to praise was the fact that you get a glimpse behind the men, the main characters like Avner, played by Eric Bana. You get a glimpse of his home life, not so much in what you see, but how he refers to it, and the very little things that Spielberg chooses to show you. Really, you believe that you're watching a real person. You believe that this is a person, with a wife who, he wants to build a family, and you really believe in his character. So that when he goes on this mission and you see him do some, kind of awful things that, justified or not, he's carrying them out in the belief that he's serving his country. And it's kind of heart-wrenching to see who appears to be a genuinely good man carry out such horrible acts, and it really is morally ambiguous as to whether or not his actions are justified and the actions of the Israeli government are justified. But the way that they treat the little things, the little aspects of the character against this context is really impressive. You can't really spoil a film like this because it's based on true events, so you either know what happened or you don't. And it's something I knew about before I'd seen the film. I had an idea of the events, and I think I actually may have done them in school, but we're talking a few years ago now. And but you don't need to know the context of the movie in order to appreciate it. It does work as a film, which is fundamentally fundamentally the most important thing. You know, yes, it's dealing with these issues, but it needs to work as a film, and so that somebody who has no idea about what actually happened can go in and enjoy it. And I think it does. Now, I mean, it's not perfect. You know, I found it to be overlong. I mean, it's over 2.5 hours, and watching it, there are a few scenes in there that, and not just the ending, because I actually quite like the ending. The scenes dotted throughout the film that I think could have been taken out and you wouldn't have really lost much. It feels a bit self-indulgent, but that's really a minor quibble because the pace of it's kind of really fast, so you don't feel the length of it. It does move along at a really good pace. So yeah, for all its challenging scenes and moral ambiguity, Munich's a really good film, and it is kind of underrated as a Spielberg movie. I mean, people generally don't realise that Spielberg made this. It's kind of out of his comfort zone, which is another thing I appreciated, because around the time he made this, he was doing stuff like Minority Report and AI. You know, he'd been doing the big kind of brash blockbusters and was planning, I think he was planning Indiana Jones 4. I mean, look at how that turned out. But yeah, to do a film like Munich at that stage in his career, I thought it was quite a brave move, and it really paid off. I do recommend Munich, although it is challenging, dark, and I found it to be absolutely terrifying. But yeah, I do recommend it.